All right, and good evening to the Sunshine State. It's week 4 of the 2018 season. Time for the FloridaHSFootball.com radio show right here on FloridaHSFootball.com. Yeah, we actually get to have a week 4. We didn't get it last year. And actually, it was just yesterday, 1 year ago yesterday, that Hurricane Irma was making landfall and coming up the state. So yeah, that's been the thing. You know, thankfully for us, we've not had to deal with that this year so far. But I have to say this as we get going here. Our thoughts, prayers, whatever you want to say, is with those in the Carolinas and Georgia, Virginia, as they get ready to deal with Hurricane Florence. It looks like the storm has kind of sped up here. Thankfully, the 8 p.m. advisory has come out, and Florence is moving at northwest at 16 miles an hour, so it looks like it's going to be pretty close to the Carolina coast by tomorrow afternoon. So, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I feel for everybody there in the Carolinas. It's just it happens. This thing kind of happens. It's just you can't control Mother Nature. Let's just put it that way. That's what we've learned. We learned that last year. We learned that with Mother Nature, that we just can't control what is going on and what happens. We couldn't control it last year. We lost 2 weeks. Some areas lost 3-4 weeks of not playing football. But, knock on wood, so far, we're not having to deal with that here this year. So, yeah. It's really, you know, it's really the thing, you know, it's just a thing, with all that here in the Sunshine State. It's just, you know, hey, we're lucky right now. We should be lucky. We should be fortunate that we're getting to play football. And, I mean, if you're listening, you can, drop in some chats and, good evening, Hunter Williams. I see you, are dropping in here on the show, so, on the chat, thing. But anyways, I'm flying solo. Josh Wilson here with you every Wednesday night, 8 to 10 here on the FloridaHSFootball.com radio show. We're gonna try to get Marty back on. We've got some things trying to deal with, you know, and but everything we're going through. But again, you know, it's just looking at it right this second. The only game I would say might be potentially in jeopardy for Week 4 right now, minus IMG Academy, St. John's out of Washington D.C. is that game's been canceled. They already canceled that. They canceled that as of yesterday. Bishop Moore is going to get to go up to Archbishop Spalding up in Maryland. They are going to go ahead and play that game, even though there's parts of Maryland that are under watches and warnings. I think they're under a tropical storm watch. So, that being said, the only other game at this particular point to say at this point is that Lincoln and Lowndes. That is the only game I have got in question right this second. And, that's the only game I'm in question, because all of Georgia's 159 counties have been declared under a state of emergency due to Hurricane Florence. Lincoln's supposed to be at Lowndes. And, you know, that's the thing. That's what we're thinking. And yes, Hunter, we're definitely making sure. I did get a question on Twitter earlier about any Northeast Florida games. Well, Northeast Florida, we're not under any warnings, watches anywhere in the state. We're not under a state of emergency or anything. Actually, people from the Carolinas are actually coming down here. And we should be gracious that let's just open our arms up for that, because last year they dealt with us. This year, let them take. Well, let's take care of them this year. That's what we're gonna do. So, the question about the point system standings when they come out, starting after week 5, I believe. So week 6 is when we're going to start getting those from the FHA. So hopefully we'll be able to coordinate some stuff with that and be able to we'll publish them each week on FloydHSFootball.com. We're just going to see what we can do to enhance that, to make sure that everybody understands what's going on, and that's everything's a projection on that. So that's what we've got going on. So setting the table here real quick tonight with everything going on the show here. So what do we got? Who would we think? Coming up here in just a few minutes, our Riddell Player of the Week awards for week 3. Got 8 players selected out again. And reminder, once a player wins it, they can't win it again during the season. So that's how it works. So, I know players will have great multiple game performances across the season. But once a player wins the award for 1 week, that's it. We're trying to be fair in this. So that's how we're working on this, and that's how we're doing it. So, again, all that. Alan Zlotorzynski at 8:20, Space Coast Daily. Talk all about Space Coast football. He is great. He is so knowledgeable. Love Alan Zlotorzynski. He is great. You'll love the interview that we'll have with him. 8:40, Jon Santucci. Great. We're covering the high school football along the Treasure Coast at the TC Palm, so we'll have him on a little after 9 o'clock, around 9:05. Adam Fisher for the Naples Daily News. We will get Southwest Florida into the mix here. We're working on the Panhandle, so we'll get the Panhandle in the mix. We're trying to, we can only do so much in a show here, but that's a thing. But and then at 9:20, Brandon O'Doy from Football Hotbed. He also has his Florida High School Football Report on Fox Sports Florida each week as well, and we'll talk to him about that show as well. Hopefully, I'll hope to later towards the end in the season, I'll be able to go down there, go to South Florida, make an appearance on that show, on the recordings when they do it and stuff, and be able to join him, because he has asked me about the point system, and everybody comes and asks me about the point system, so I'm not having an issue about doing that or anything. So that's the big thing. In question that I just got from Hunter Williams on the chat is, this is, can the same team with multiple players in different weeks? Yes, same team can get it with a different player. So that can be possible. So it cannot be the same player itself. Same team, different player. So, so that's the thing. So, and I will do that and all that. But first, Alan Zlotorzynski has already texted me. I will thing. So, but anyway, so that's what we've got going on here. So we were just waiting the thing. We're gonna get a couple minutes here, and then we're gonna start doing the thing. But just kind of looking at a couple things here. Joe Pinko's. If you haven't checked out Joe Pinko's forecast for week 4, it's up on FloydHSFootball.com. You can actually check it out. Also, Richard Burton. I love Richard Burton, because he's got this whole book with the whole playoff history in the Sunshine State. And that book is actually, as of today, it'll be sold through through Bookshop, through BookBaby, and at Barnes and Noble. And the release time will be around the end of the month. September 25th to the 28th is the time frame that they given the release from his publisher. And he'll be doing some speaking engagements beginning in October. So that's from according to his tweet on Twitter. You can follow him on Twitter at FLFB Records. So that right there, Richard Burton. Richard has done an incredible job doing the research. He's been working on this for like 4 or 5 years now. So there's that. I think with the book, it'll be really incredible. I can't wait to get my hands on the copy, because it's going to be 800 pages. Think about the size of the ESPN College Football Encyclopedia, and that's about roughly the size that we've got coming. That book's going to be sort of maybe 200 pages less, because the ESPN College Football Encyclopedia is like 1,000 pages. But just put it in mind of what the book is going to be like. And he's already said he might have to do another book, so there's that. Anyways, we've got that. Let me see. Let's see. What I'm going to use a sound effect. I've not used any of these sound effects I've got sitting on here, the thing, but I'm gonna get a drum roll. But hey, it's time. Yeah, it's time for the Riddell Player of the Week awards. How about that? All right, everybody, are you sitting down? Are you sitting down at the desk. I can't really see y'all, but, hey. It is what it is. Anyways, time for our Week 3 Riddell Player of the Week Awards. Presented, as always, by Riddell Sports. And, of course, you can follow Riddell Sports on Twitter at Riddell Sports. And also, one of the great sales reps in this state of Florida, Nick Clark. You can follow him at Equipment_Man on Twitter. Nick does a great job. He's fabulous. So, anyways, let's get this show started for this week with our Riddell Player of the Week's thing. And actually, I'm going to explain how this kind of works because I did just get a question here that popped up on how the Player of the Week awards work. We go through, we try to look at nominations that the coaches send us. We also look at what we see statistical wise that we can get our access through the various publications around the state, and we take a look at it and see what's going on and see who's really standing out. Sometimes we'll just come across a player and it'll be automatic. He's in if he has not won it, because how can you top a performance? And that's what we had. We had it last week with a couple of players. This week we've got it again. I think it's really, and we try to rotate it. We try to want to make it, balance it out between, offense, defense, even the linemen. We want to get everybody. We want to get the T concept involved. I mean, and there's going to be even a point where we're going to go to kickers here. We'll have a couple of kickers depending on some of the games and how they do it. So that's the thing. And yes, you're right, Hunter. That coaches do send in nominations, but we also look at newspaper reports. We do take a look at everything. So we use our resources, and that's how we do it. So without further ado, let's do the announcements for Riddell Player of the Week for Week 3. Class 8A, Dwayne Mcgee from Kissimmee, Osceola. How about this? 237 yards rushing on 13 carries. 3 touchdowns on a 34-14 win over Vieira. Osceola has been playing some pretty solid football here. So, it's pretty exciting with what they have been doing. So that's great for the Cowboys there. And that actually his coach Doug Nichols sent the nomination in. Hey, Kissimmee, Osceola. There was actually some good, a couple other ones there, but we that one stood out with us within Class 8A. So, congratulations to Dwayne Mcgee out of Kissimmee, Osceola, Class 8A Riddell Player of the Week. Our Class 7A Player of the Week is none other than athlete Tavion Nicholson, better known as Taz out of Robert E. Lee. He had a heck of a ball game. 4 total touchdowns. How about this? 2 rushing, 1 receiving, 1 interception return. 4 touchdown totals, and a 38-13 win over Mandarin last week. Just totally went off. And actually, speaking of Lee and Columbia, that's the big statewide game of the week. That is the top statewide game of the week right now. So that's gonna be fun. Columbia's ranked number 4. Robert E. Lee's number 21. That's the big matchup this week. So let's just we'll leave it at that for right now. But Taz Nicholson, Robert E. Lee, 4 total touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 receiving, 1 interception return, and a 38-13 win over Mandarin last week. In Class 6A, Najee, I'm going to say, I think it's Najee Carter, New Smyrna Beach, responsible for all 5 touchdowns for New Smyrna Beach in their 35-10 win over Titusville. How about this? Now, this is what's really incredible about Carter's performance. 2 interception returns for 75 and 100 yards. 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 punt return for 65 yards. How about that? All 3 phases of the game. Offense, defense, special teams. 365 all-purpose yards. That kid just literally went off for John Wilkinson's team. That is really incredible. You don't find many performances like that. That is just that's highly incredible. So, Najee Carter, New Smyrna Beach, 5 total touchdowns. Hey, can't beat that right there on that one. So, it was actually pretty close. We had a running back out of Gulf Breeze, I'm going to actually mention it. It was close, and Ty Detmer, I mean, he's probably going to win one of these awards during the season. It's just that, I mean, it was tough this week. Ty Detmer out of Gulf Breeze, 362 rushing on 23 carries, 5 touchdowns. I mean, you can't beat that either. It's just, I mean, Najee Carter, we don't see those kind of performances like that where you score in all 3 phases of the game like that very often. So that's how it works. So Class 4A, Thomas Willis out of Monsignor Pace. He put up a heck of a ball game for the Monsignor Pace Spartans. How about this? You know, I mean, you look at the number of rushing yards. You know, you say, okay, it's 132 rushing. Yeah, that's one thing. But you know, he had 32 carries. He scored 3 touchdowns, and it was a back and forth game between them and Gulf Coast. It was a 35-33 win for them. So I mean, that was back and forth. But Thomas Willis, you know, he had a great game, and you know, it's not easy for a 4A school to go play a 7A school. It's never easy for the smaller schools to play these bigger classification schools. And Monsignor Pace goes over to Naples, plays Gulf Coast, gets the win. Thomas Willis, definitely a big contributor for that. Class 3A, this was no contest with Class 3A this week. Gavin Screws out of Baldwin. How about that? 357 passing, 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and a 50-49 victory over Dixie County. You can't get any better than that. I mean, Gavin Screws has been on fire this season already, and Baldwin, I'm telling y'all now, Baldwin's going to be in the playoffs. Baldwin will be in the Class 3A Region 1 playoffs. They will get it. And there's a good chance I think they could get a 1 or 2 seed. So just watch out for Baldwin right now. I mean, they're still a little stung from last year. They should have been in the playoffs. They really should have been in. So, but I'll leave it at that. Our Class 2A Riddell Player of the Week is no other than defensive lineman Caden Baker out of Southwest Florida Christian. 14 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 2 sacks, and a 27-22 win over Community School of Naples. Huge game for the defensive lineman Caden Baker out of Southwest Florida Christian. Right there. And our Class 1A Riddell Player of the Week, Collier Jackson out of Hawthorne. Collier Jackson has actually had several solid games, but he did not even actually, if I'm correct, from what I was able to read and see, because he did get there was a coach's nomination as well. 243 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Now, you know, I may not say it as much, but his rushing performance was the key in that 51-19 win they had over PK Young, which actually leaves them as the only undefeated team now in Alachua County. So, again, that's our Class 1A Riddell Player of the Week. Go through it real quick here. 8A Riddell Player, Class 8A Riddell Player of the Week, running back Dwayne Mcgee out of Osceola. Class 7A athlete Taz Nicholson out of Lee. 6A athlete Najee Carter out of New Smyrna Beach. 5A. Did I mention 5A? I somehow skipped over Class 5A. I don't know how I did that. Because I was probably going too fast. That's what it was. But I did not mention the Class 5A Riddell Player of the Week. How about this one? Quarterback Nick Scalzo out of Cardinal Gibbons. Just to add I'm going to mention this right now. He had a ball game. He actually only playing 3 of the 4 quarters because they pulled the starters in the 4th quarter. Nick Scalzo, Cardinal Gibbons, 18 of 25, 326 passing, 3 touchdowns, and a 34-12 win over Dillard. Dillard's actually a pretty good team. They've competed in some games. They beat Western last week, in Western in week 2. They actually competed solidly against Booker T. Washington in week 1. So Dillard's not a pushover. Dillard's actually a very solid team. Nick Scalzo just had his night and carved up 326 passing yards in 3 quarters, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's what it is. There was a couple of other good players that we were considering. So this is the way it is. But Nick Scalzo, our Class 5A Riddell Player of the Week. Class 4A Riddell Player of the Week, then Thomas Willis, running back out of Monsignor Pace. Class 3A quarterback Gavin Screws out of Baldwin. Class 2A defensive lineman Caden Baker out of Southwest Florida Christian. And 1A quarterback Khalil Jackson out of Hawthorne. So those are our Riddell Player of the Week awards right there for week 3 here on the FloydHSFootball.com radio show. So again, anyways, that's how we work it. It's through the classifications how we do it and anything like that. So that's how we do it here. And when we get into the nominations for teams from independents, we sign them based upon their classification out of what would have been 2014 DFHA classifications, because that's how we set it up here. Because again, the independents are such it's a spread. It's easier for us to go through that process that way. So that's how it works here on the Riddell Player of the Week awards here on FloorHSFootball.com. All right, we got to take a break here. But then when we come back, we'll have Alan Zlotorzynski from the Space Coast Daily join us here. We'll be right back here in about 4 or so minutes here on the FloorHSFootball.com radio show. We'll be right back.
Sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
The Florida Athletic Coaches Association has been the state's premier coaches association for high school coaches since 1936. From coaching clinics to all-star games for all Florida High School Athletic Association team sports, the Florida Athletic Coaches Association has something for all coaches to be involved with, from Pensacola to Key West. To inquire about membership, visit the Florida Athletic Coaches Association online at floridacoaches.org. That is floridacoaches.org. Legacy Team Sales is the official clothing sponsor of FloorHSFootball.com, serving the entire state of Florida with everything a team needs and beyond. From shirts to ball caps and from jerseys to promotional gear, Legacy Team Sales has it all, including embroidery and screen printing services. Visit them online at shoplts.com or visit their showroom and warehouse at 1417 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala between US 301 and State Road 200. FloorHSFootball.com is a proud media partner of the Florida High School 7v7 Association. The goal of the Florida High School 7v7 Association is to provide high school football teams around the state an association that complies with Florida High School Athletic Association bylaws and policies while being able to provide off-season training for their skilled position athletes. For teams interested in membership starting in January 2018, visit the Florida High School 7v7 Association online at fh7v7a.com.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
Legacy Team Sales is the official clothing sponsor of FloorHSFootball.com, serving the entire state of Florida with everything a team needs and beyond. From shirts to ball caps and from jerseys to promotional gear, Legacy Team Sales has it all, including embroidery and screen printing services. Visit them online at shoplts.com or visit their showroom and warehouse at 1417 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala between US 301 and State Road 200. The Florida Athletic Coaches Association has been the state's premier coaches association for high school coaches since 1936. From coaching clinics to all-star games for all Florida High School Athletic Association team sports, the Florida Athletic Coaches Association has something for all coaches to be involved with, from Pensacola to Key West. To inquire about membership, visit the Florida Athletic Coaches Association online at floridacoaches.org. That is floridacoaches.org.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
FloorHSFootball.com is a proud media partner of the Florida High School 7v7 Association. The goal of the Florida High School 7v7 Association is to provide high school football teams around the state an association that complies with Florida High School Athletic Association bylaws and policies while being able to provide off-season training for their skilled position athletes. For teams interested in membership starting in January 2018, visit the Florida High School 7v7 Association online at fh7v7a.com.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
All right, welcome back here to the FloridaHSFootball.com radio show. We come to you live each and every Wednesday night from 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern Time here on FloridaHSFootball.com. By the way, you can download the Spreaker app, Android or iOS. You can chat with us here on the show, as a couple people have already done. So that's how you can chime in with everything here on the FloridaHSFootball.com radio show. So get ready to join us. Here is my first guest of the evening, and I love talking with this man. He is great. He knows everything what's going on the Space Coast. Alan Zlotorzynski from the Space Coast Daily. Alan, it's great to get you on when you think. I know you're a busy man, but appreciate taking out of time. I know you got another radio interview after this one. So, but
well, Josh, I tell you, first of all, thank you for what you do, because while a lot of us cover local areas, compared to covering the entire state, Josh, what you do is quite a service for all of us, and I think we've all stolen a little something from you over the last couple of years, so thank you for what you do.
Hey, I appreciate that, Alan, but man, let's just talk about with the Space Coast in general, because I gotta remind people, the Space Coast, hey, Brevard County is like 80-90 miles long on when you travel the stretches of I-95 and US 1. It takes you a good hour and a half just to traverse the county. So I mean you go all the way from Cocoa and Titusville up in the north, all the way to Palm Bay in the south, and there's good football everywhere. But the team that really has been standing out so far, hey, I mean I'm not shocked. Rockledge, with what Wayne Younger is doing, and the thing, Friday night beating Bowles 27-24. That's a huge statement game for them. That because I know that it is not easy to beat a program that we have talked about before. 11-time state champion Bowles. That's not an easy program to beat for Rockledge. That was a huge win for them, and I think that now sets up even for what's coming down the line with district play starting up here this week.
Yeah, look, what they've done, what Wayne Younger has done is, first of all, you're right, it's not a shock because Wayne Younger comes from that Cocoa lineage, John Wilkinson. That's where he played his high school football. That's where he learned, how to build a program. Obviously, other coaches along the way. But when you look at this Rockledge Raider football team, man, they just, we keep saying it every week, don't we? That's a statement win. That's a statement win. Look, when they played Rains in the Kickoff Classic, should have beaten them. And we felt like, that was a statement game for Rockledge. Then they come out and beat Vieira 26-21. We said, that's a statement game. Then they said, well, you know what? We'll see how good Rockledge is, because now they've got to go play West Orange, who at the time was ranked number 6 according to the Orlando Sentinel, and they went over there and got up on West Orange by 21 points. West Orange made a valiant comeback, but Rockledge gets a 49-42 win. And then, of course, Bowles. You mentioned Bowles, 11-time state champion, and Rockledge almost blew it, lost the lead in that one, but down deep, came back. Wayne Younger's got a lot of talent on that football team, and it starts with Ladarius Tennyson, who's just a junior. I've talked to 4 or 5 coaches that's had an opportunity to coach and or play against Ladarius Tennyson, and these aren't coaches that have just been stuck here on the Space Coast, if you will. They've traveled throughout the state of Florida and even beyond Florida, and every one of them have told me for his age, he's one of the top 3 linebackers they've ever seen, much less forget about the fact that he can run the rock. Then you've got Jalen Mitchell back there, a senior running back. OC brothers. The list goes on and on and on. And this is homegrown talent. These are not transfers in. So these are all players that Wayne Younger has developed in that program over the last couple of seasons. And this is what it's culminated to. And, that schedule doesn't get any easier. We play a 3-0 Space Coast team this week. Now, I think this week it's all really going to be about, well, let's see what the 3-0 Vipers have, because we know who Rockledge is. But after that, look, they're going to host. They're going to host Southridge, Miami.
Right, and that's going to be a huge game. And Miami Southridge is not a pushover. But you just mentioned the one team that I've looked at the numbers, and I start crunching these numbers, looking at with the standings and stuff, which that we'll be publishing those either later tonight or tomorrow on footageoffootball.com with the all the district standings and updates on that. But Space Coast 3-0 start. I mean, Coach Diesel. Yeah. I mean, I get it that he's building a program there, but to go in there like that, and you come off of a 3-0 start, and I believe he's a first year head coach there. That's that doesn't happen very often, and that's got to give those Viper players a lot of confidence coming in and going into district play.
And a very young football team at that. You look, last time Space Coast started 3-0 was back in 2005, Josh. And again, you talk about Coach Diesel, and if the last name sounds familiar, well, it should. His dad is Dan Diesel. And Dan Diesel, of course, for many years led the Texas Terriers. A great head coach here on the Space Coast. He is one of our what we call Space Coast Sports Hall of Famers in this area. And you look at this roster, 40, 45 deep, but again, very young quarterback position. They got Chris Squires. And guess what? He threw 2 touchdown passes last week to his junior twin brother, Michael Squires. They have a running back that's a senior by the name of Devontae Shingles that's just tearing it up. And they got a guy in the secondary, and I'm here to tell you, he's just a sophomore, has been boxing. In fact, he hadn't played any football at all until this year. One of the top defensive backs already in the area. And I'm telling you, the kid, his name is Willie Kaler. And he is just a sophomore, 6'1", 200 pounds. So Matt Diesel's got a young roster, and you know what? This 3-0 start has come against 3 teams that have a combined record of 4-5, Josh. We release our top 5 teams locally. There's 17 high schools here in Brevard, and we took a little bit of heat today because the Melbourne Bulldogs are also 3-0. But the 11 people that we have on our panel that voted all put Space Coast ahead of Melbourne, and the reason they did so was because Space Coast was 4-5 against their 3 opponents. They beat a 2-1 Harmony team as well, and Melbourne has beaten 3 opponents that have a combined record of 1-7. So I guess the voters in our little local poll here felt like that should matter.
Right. I mean, I agree. And when I look at when I do the classification rankings on mine. And I know I send you the emails each week on that to make sure you get them. But the whole thing, when I look at it and I break it down by each of the regions in that classification, and it's like hey, Melbourne's 3-0, but who they played, and that's what I go through this process with a lot of teams. It's like, who have they played? Who they thing? And I mean, I've had a couple of other things when I've told people that, I was looking at a thing. I'm like, okay, this team, I mean, I look at one set of rankings. I'm like, that team shouldn't be there. Who have they played? That's the same thought process your panel is going through. It's like, wait a second. Well, they're 3-0, but they haven't played anyone meaningful yet. So, hey,
right.
At the end of the day, here for Space Coast, they're getting ready to play really someone even more meaningful. And, hey, Rockledge. I mean, hello. I mean, that's how more meaningful can you get?
Right.
Can you be?
That's going to be the game, though, isn't it? I mean, that's of course, and anybody out there wants to see it can. You can see it on Space Coast Deal. We're going to show that, but yeah, I mean, look, Matt Diesel's doing a terrific job. Scott Grish over at Melbourne's doing a terrific job. You got old school, new school there, so it's fun to have these battles. Josh, I really like what's going on. Rockledge, of course, is our number 1 ranked team. Our second ranked team in this area that we had were the Cocoa Tigers. What a job that Ryan Schneider is doing there first year.
Absolutely.
I don't think a lot of people gave Ryan Schneider his due. I mean, Ryan Schneider was one of the best offensive coordinators, not just in the state of Florida, Josh, but I felt like he was one of the best offensive coordinators in the country coming in to take this job. Look what he did at University with Roger Harriet. Look at what he did with St. Thomas with Roger Harriet. And then he moves up here to MCC last year and averages 50 points with Stacey Sizemore. So, you know what? He's trying to turn that into an over-the-top offense, but yet he's not forgetting about the talent he has there in the Keziah Holmes and a Willie Gaines. And Coco's going to be fine, even though they're 2-1.
Oh, yeah, I mean, 2-1, we got them ranked number 3 right now in Class 4A. I mean, Class 4A, that top 3, I mean, it's a tight battle right now, but, I mean, Coco's definitely, they just because they lost to Treasure Coast on the last second play does not mean they're a bad team by any means. But I think the one team that I want to talk about here that I think some people are a little surprised by the start by Vieira, 0-3, and I know there's been a couple of close games, but I know last week probably not the closest game they could have played with Osceola, but when they went up to South Carolina in week 2 at Fort Dorchester, I thought, hey, there was a chance that I think, hey, Vieira could pull a win out, and they were close to doing it, but 0-3, some people are wondering, okay, what's going on? But as we've talked about it, hey, I think Vieira could, like you said, Vieira could go 5-5 and win that district that they're in. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yep, and all of their goals, you talked to head coach Derek Smith, great guy, all of their goals are still ahead of them. I think they're trying to get the play calling figured out a little bit. They've got Mike DeGore, he's the offensive coordinator. For those that say, Mike DeGore, that name sounds familiar. It should. He was one of the greatest all-time centers ever at the University of Florida. In fact, I think he still holds a lot of records for consecutive games played at that position and numerous other records there for offensive linemen. But Mike DeGore, the offensive coordinator there, he does a good job. But look, they've got a sophomore quarterback in Bryce Norton. And if you look at I think it's the 2020 class, or 2021 class, Bryce Norton is ranked as one of the top quarterbacks in that class. I think he's in the top 20 or top 25. This is a dynamic young athlete who's going to take that football team. Before he graduates from Vieira High School, they'll be back at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando if that's where they're still playing these state championships at in a couple of years. But Bryce Norton's going to be great.
Definitely, and all that, looking at a couple other teams in that area that really, that we everybody talks about when you talk about teams that potentially could be state ranked and stuff. Okay, Palm Bay and Merritt Island, and Palm Bay, 1 and 2 start, but Merritt Island's kind of interesting because you're not seeing them score a lot of points. It seems like the defense is keeping them in games, and I think that it was between Merritt Island and Astronaut was a 10-9 game, and even Astronaut with Justin Warden, you're talking teams here that could all still be potentially in the playoffs come at the end of the year because they do schedule tough, and they are they're going to have the points that could be there to get them in.
Yeah, look, Justin Ward does a fantastic job. All that, there's a lot of coaches out there that develop quarterbacks. All Justin Wharton does is develop running backs.
I will agree with you on that one.
Yeah, he's got another good one again this year. A couple of weeks ago, Jaden Dollard rushed for 247 all-purpose yards. That included a punt return a 90-yard kick return for a touchdown. But you mentioned Merritt Island as well. Again, Hurley Brown takes over a young football team. Mikey Moss, a junior quarterback there. They've got some great speed on that team that's going to develop over the next 2 years. I don't know that Merritt Island. Merritt Island is squeaking by right now. But if you know Hurley Brown and you know some of the men that he's played under and coached next to, then you just got to believe that that's a program destined for great things to come, because his mentor was Jimmy Johnson and George Seifert, and the list goes on for Hurley Brown. But Merritt Island will be okay, but you better believe it. The Astronaut War Eagles are for real, because Jaden Dollard and Justin Warden, the head coach and the running back, they're going to run the football. They're going to play clock control, tempo style of game. And you know what? Justin Warden always has a tough defense. So look out for Astronaut a little later on in the year.
Oh, definitely. I definitely agree with you on that. And again, there's going to be a lot of fun here in the next few weeks as district play opens up. Again, this is week 4, so district play will open up for a lot of teams. And if the teams don't open up district play this week, it's week 6. So that these next few weeks, it's time to make or break your season here. It's time to separate the men from the boys.
Yeah, and one more team I just wanted to show a little bit of love to here on your great show is Mark Ainsley's Heritage Panthers.
Oh, yes,
Josh,
definitely.
that's a football team. I'm going to tell you right now that come November, because they're a playoff team. There's no question in my mind they're a playoff team. If I'm one of the teams from down south, and you look at what Mark Ainsley has done in the past against some teams from down south, even 2 years or 3 years ago against the Mainland Buccaneers, should have beaten them a couple of years ago, should have beaten Mainland a couple of years ago. Mark Ainsley has a dangerously fast and physical football team. They out-physicaled Dan Burke's Palm Bay Pirates Friday night, beat them 13-7. And for me to tell you that another team out-physicaled Dan Burke's Palm Bay Pirates, that's making a statement.
That I will agree with you on that, and I was actually looking at the district standings in that Region 4 in Class 6A, and I'll tell you what, I don't think District 16's taking 4 this year. Another district's going to take a district, because District 13 took 2. I think District 13 still takes 2. I think District 14 gets 2 back into the playoffs this year. 15 only takes 1, but 16 takes 3, because I'll tell you what, I am not impressed with what Miami Norland is doing. They have come out of the gate this year, and they have totally gone flat. That's just the way I'm looking at it. I'm saying, hey, here we go, circle 14. They're going to get 2 teams in the playoffs at least.
Yeah, be careful. Watch out for those Heritage Panthers. I mean, they have a tackle, young man by the name of Terry Howard, and I'll tell you the sacrifices that his players are making. The only issue that a lot of Brevard teams have is numbers, depth. I think Mark's got a little under 40 players, but he had an offensive and defensive tackle by the name of Terry Howard last week. Young man played a little over 90 plays in the game. Never came out for one play, was our player of the game, and just a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal player. But Mark Ainsley's got 22 kids, 11, 14, 15 kids that go out and do that every week for him. They play for Coach Ainsley, and I got to tell you, that's my dark horse, really, to make just a little bit of noise come playoff time.
Yeah, definitely, indeed. Well, Alan, I got to let you go. I got to get on the show rolling, but it's been great talking Space Coast football. We'll definitely have you back on later in the season as we approach the playoffs, because I know it will be fun when we get to the playoff time right there.
Josh, thanks a lot for everything, buddy. Take care and have a good one.
You too. Appreciate it. All right. That was Alan Zlotorzynski from the Space Coast Daily. You can follow him on Twitter at ZLotSports. At ZLotSports. So that is how you can follow Alan Zlotorzynski from the Space Coast Daily. And the Space Coast Daily Facebook page, you can actually look it up on Facebook, Space Coast Daily, and they do a lot of great stuff, a lot of great content. After the break, we'll have Jon Santucci from the TC Palm join us here on the FloorHSFootball.com radio show. We'll be right back right after this.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
The Florida Athletic Coaches Association has been the state's premier coaches association for high school coaches since 1936. From coaching clinics to all-star games for all Florida High School Athletic Association team sports, the Florida Athletic Coaches Association has something for all coaches to be involved with, from Pensacola to Key West. To inquire about membership, visit the Florida Athletic Coaches Association online at floridacoaches.org. That is floridacoaches.org. Legacy Team Sales is the official clothing sponsor of FloorHSFootball.com, serving the entire state of Florida with everything a team needs and beyond. From shirts to ball caps and from jerseys to promotional gear, Legacy Team Sales has it all, including embroidery and screen printing services. Visit them online at shoplts.com or visit their showroom and warehouse at 1417 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala between US 301 and State Road 200. FloridaHSFootball.com is a proud media partner of the Florida High School 7v7 Association. The goal of the Florida High School 7v7 Association is to provide high school football teams around the state an association that complies with Florida High School Athletic Association bylaws and policies while being able to provide off-season training for their skilled position athletes. For teams interested in membership starting in January 2018, visit the Florida High School 7v7 Association online at fh7v7a.com.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
Legacy Team Sales is the official clothing sponsor of FloridaHSFootball.com, serving the entire state of Florida with everything a team needs and beyond. From shirts to ball caps and from jerseys to promotional gear, Legacy Team Sales has it all, including embroidery and screen printing services. Visit them online at shoplts.com or visit their showroom and warehouse at 1417 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala between US 301 and State Road 200. The Florida Athletic Coaches Association has been the state's premier coaches association for high school coaches since 1936. From coaching clinics to all-star games for all Florida High School Athletic Association team sports, the Florida Athletic Coaches Association has something for all coaches to be involved with from Pensacola to Key West. To inquire about membership, visit the Florida Athletic Coaches Association online at floridacoaches.org. That is floridacoaches.org.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
FloridaHSFootball.com is a proud media partner of the Florida High School 7v7 Association. The goal of the Florida High School 7v7 Association is to provide high school football teams around the state an association that complies with Florida High School Athletic Association bylaws and policies while being able to provide off-season training for their skilled position athletes. For teams interested in membership starting in January 2018, visit the Florida High School 7v7 Association online at fh7v7a.com.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
All right, welcome back here to the FloridaHSFootball.com radio show. Appreciate y'all listening where we are at across the Sunshine State. Again, hey, we're having week 4 football this week. Of course, we didn't have it last year, thanks to that nice little pesky storm named Irma. I don't know how many times I need to remind people about that, but it is what it is. It's nice to actually have football, and actually, what's even nicer is that we've not had actually many delays or cancellations this year, and that is definitely a big thing. But getting ready to join on us here on the show is our next guest, Jon Santucci from the TC Palm. Good evening, Jon. Appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule. I mean, it seems like you're everywhere up and down the Treasure Coast, and to have a few minutes to talk about Treasure Coast football with you, and I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. By the way, last year at this time, now that you got me thinking about the Hurricanes, I was covering news, and I'm not a big fan of doing that. I'd much rather cover high school football. So thank you for the reminder that I like my job a lot more right now than I did a year ago at this time.
I have to say that because I was absolutely doing nothing because it was like, well, there ain't nothing to cover. There ain't nothing to do. We were all sitting here waiting for this hurricane to come by. But, hey, yeah, and it's actually, it's like I said, it's actually nice that we're actually going to have football games this weekend, considering, hey, that storm that's out there now can just keep on going, so.
Right.
But anyways, Jon, just looking at the Treasure Coast area with everything on all the stuff with what's going on. I mean, it's no surprise where Vero Beach is at. I think that everybody is probably not even shocked there and all that. I think there's a couple other teams that I think is really standing out in your area that I think needs a little bit more publicity. Let's start with Treasure Coast and then Centennial because, hey, they're going to end up having to face Vero Beach later on in district play, and, they're going to want to fight for some playoff spots, and this is starting off hot like what they have, this is a good start for these two programs.
Absolutely, and you and I talked about it earlier after Treasure Coast knocked off Cocoa, but this is a district last year where Vero was the only team that had a winning record at the end of the season. Centennial started off great, and they struggled toward the end, and Treasure Coast just never seemed to find its footing. And now I think, they're combined like 9-2 or something like that as a district. Treasure Coast, in my opinion, at least for the teams in this area, has played the hardest schedule. They started off the Kickoff Classic. They play Fort Pierce Westwood on the road. Then they go to Lake Wales, which I think will be a playoff team this year, and they beat them in a high-scoring game. And then they knock off Cocoa on the last-second touchdown. Last week they lose to Mainland, and you and I were talking about it in break. Mainland, they're 1-2, but man, their schedule is loaded as well. So I think Treasure Coast has definitely tested itself. But like you said, it's the district games, and that's a 4-team district, so there's no margin for error. Vero Beach has not lost a regular season game since 2013, so obviously they're the king of the hill. But Centennial and Treasure Coast are both playing really well early in the season. Centennial, they're 3-0, haven't exactly played the same caliber of teams that Treasure Coast has, but their defense, they have 5 Division I offer guys on their defense and 3 in the secondary, so they're, I think they're getting 2 to 3 interceptions a game, and their offense is starting to put up some big points. So I wouldn't be surprised to see all these 3 teams in the mix in Region 2A when we get into weeks 9, 10, 11.
I definitely will agree with you on that, considering that if you look at, in that region alone, you look at the other districts there that we're talking that make up Region 2 in Class 8A, Dr. Phillips district. Everybody's like 1-2 in that district, or don't have a win at all. In that district, and you look at the district over in the Tampa Bay area right this second, and you're looking, and it's like the only team that's got even a winning record right this second is Alonzo out of District 6. I could feel like in what I'm seeing is that there's a good chance that with District 8 they could take 3 teams if this is the way it's going to play out.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised by that, and you just kind of pointed it out, but traditionally, and I say traditionally maybe the last 4 or 5 years, this is a top-heavy region, where you've got 3 or 4 big names. Vero has been at least the regional semi each of the last 4 or 5 years. Dr. Phillips is always in the mix. Osceola is always going to be right there. And then it's kind of, okay, well, who's coming out of 6? Last year, I believe it was Riverview. And then you're just kind of, okay, well, who's the other 4 teams? And it definitely, first of all, I wouldn't concede District 8A going to Vero. Centennial and Treasure Coast are both very focused on what they need to do. But I wouldn't be surprised if at least 2, and I wouldn't be shocked if all 3 teams got in.
I definitely agree on that one. And looking at that, I'm gonna hop over into looking at the Class 6A district, because I know that is a complement of not only Treasure Coast area schools, but schools up in the Space Coast, and I know that is always a dogfight, it seems like, each year as to who's going to emerge out of District 14, because and looking at it right now, here you go. You talk about, I had Alan Zlotorzynski from the Space Coast Daily. We were talking about it, and there's 2 teams up there that right now are sitting 2-1 in that district, and you got Sebastian River, which, hey, 2-1, new head coach. Is this kind of what you expected out of the Sharks to start off the season, or is this are they progressing a little faster than you thought they would?
Maybe they're right on track, and I only say that for this reason. I don't think I had a good grasp on them, because you never know what to expect from a team that has a very late coaching change. Tyrone Perry is hired, I believe, the end of June, the last week of June. They have that coaching change, so
right.
He has a little over a month, and that's if there's no time off to get it going. Now, the good thing is he was a long-time assistant there. The kids knew him. personally, and this is not a shot because I'm really good friends with Chuck Kenyon, who is the former coach there. I think Perry's just a better fit at that school. And so they've changed the offense. Last year they were throwing the ball over the yard, which made a lot of sense because they have Corbin Gibson, who's one of the top juniors in the state at wide receiver, 6'4", 200-pounder. But they've got a big O-line. That O-line, I think, is averaging right around 6'2.5" and about 280. So they're like, hey, look, we've got this big line. We've got a running back, Javian Tomlinson, that's he's got some Division I offers, another junior, and they've got Tim Smith, that a national recruit defensive tackle, another junior. So they've just said, look, we're just going to run down your throat and force you to stop us. And so far they're having some success with it. And here's the thing, though. Both of their wins, they're not pretty. Like they beat Martin County, I think it was 21-19. They scored 3 touchdowns in 7 minutes, What were you going to say?
I was just looking at that. You're right. The 21-19. I'm looking at the week 1 score now for it. I'm like, and you're absolutely right. It's not been pretty because the scoring average in the first 3 weeks, and this average is only it's 19 points for, 21 points giving up. So they're actually that's probably not the prettiest thing, but yeah, you got 2 wins out of that.
Right, and so this is a team, though, that I think they've either matched or about to match last year's win total. I think it's a very favorable matchup for them with Okeechobee this week to start it off. And with a team that has a lot of juniors, but these are all guys that got reps last year, if they start getting confident, you never know what's going to happen. I think they've figured out their identity, though. And me personally, I love teams that figure out their identity. Vero is going to throw the ball over the park. They're a spread team. Treasure Coast is a single wing team. I love watching both of them because they know exactly who they are and what they're about. So Sebastian's starting to figure that out as well. Like, hey, we're a power running team. Let's not pretend like we're something else. And we got Corbin Gibson, and you know what? Maybe we'll move him to running back. They've been doing that. He scored 2 rushing touchdowns last week. So, I think they're figuring it out defensively. They still got some work to do, but if they give Heritage a game? I think so. If they can cut down their penalties and keep running the ball, yeah. And Heritage has got to be the favorite until they prove otherwise.
I mean, I definitely agree. I can definitely agree with you on that particular part right there. And just looking at the other area teams that you've got that are in that district 14 and 6A. I mean, you got Jensen Beach, which and it's probably not been the best start for them here. Getting off the season, and you got Okeechobee.
Okeechobee is young, and that it was kind of unfortunate. It was kind of expected that they would be down a little bit. They have some really nice athletes. Vayon Washington, and is a younger cousin of Bubba Flood, who you might remember was a first-team All-State guy a couple of years ago when they went 9-1. But they're still figuring out. I really like the coaching hire that they had. Ty Smith is going to do a great job there, I think. But it's going to take time. I think they had 4 seniors returning from last year's team or something like that. So it's a really young team that's just figuring it out. Now, Jensen, I really do not know what to make of Jensen, and here's why. Week 1, they play a really nice game against South Fork, which is a rivalry game. They're fired up. They're good to go. Their quarterback gets hit with a helmet-to-helmet and starts showing concussion symptoms the next week. So he misses the game against Centennial, and they lose 36-0 because they basically were running a single-wing offense with a guy who is not really a quarterback. Last week they go up to Cocoa. It's the quarterback's first game, but the coach had to unfortunately miss the game because of a family funeral in New Jersey. So I don't feel like this team has actually been together yet, and I don't know what to make of them. Now, obviously, Cocoa put up 50 in the first half, and I talked to the coach a little bit today, Tim Caffey, and he's like, man, we just did a really poor job of tackling. Now, by the way, he conceded, as everybody with eyes has ever known. Cocoa is unbelievably fast and athletic, and they're making you miss as much as you're making mistakes. But he felt like they made a lot more mistakes than they should have. So they haven't had a full complement of guys since week 1.
I mean,
now their guys are getting healthy, and now their coach is back. So, and they have a pretty good matchup, I think, in Bayside this week. So, do they start off well, and can they get some momentum going into the teeth of that district schedule?
No, I can agree with you that, and as I said earlier in the show, I feel like that's a district this year that it only took one team out into the playoffs. I think that's going to be a district that has a chance to really take two, and because I said District 16 downstate with the Miami teams, I think it's only going to be 3 this year, not 4, just because of looking at some trends that are happening down there. But looking at District 15 and 5A, you got Fort Pierce Westwood. To be honest with you, it's a 14 district now since John Carroll went independent for this year after dropping out of the district. But Westwood, I'm not surprised there's 2-1 and 1-0 in the district. That doesn't surprise me one bit with them. Of the 2 teams out of the area that are in that district.
I would agree completely. They played a real early district game against Port St. Lucie and won that really handily. The adage in this area has always been, if you want to get Westwood early. And so their first 2 games are against 2 8A teams. They posted Treasure Coast, and that I think that was like a 6-6 game or early, and then it got out of hand. They played Centennial, and it was 6-6 with 15 seconds left in the second quarter, and then Centennial gets a touchdown right before half, and they kind of cruise on from there. But, man, Westwood has put up a bunch of points in the last couple games. They've got a really, really exciting group of defenders. They have a defensive back that, I don't think I'm saying anything bad. If his grades were a little bit better, he's probably a Power 5 guy. As it is, he's got several Division I offers. His name is Willie Lewis. He shuts down half the field. And you can throw against him if you want to, but last year total, he allowed 5 completions. 3 of those were in the first game against the guy who ended up being picked by you first team All-State, and 2 of them were against Bishop Moore in the playoffs. So he just doesn't, and he hasn't. I don't think he's given up any completions this season. They've got a guy that is a legit shutdown corner, and he's 6'2", like 200 pounds. They've got a really nice group of young linebackers that are all juniors. So, and I think they've scored each of the last 2 weeks defensively. So, Westwood, honestly, I don't know enough about Suncoast, but I have to believe they're the class of that district. Unfortunately, 5A is so deep, though, they're probably still locked into that number 4 seed no matter what they do.
I definitely will agree with you, Dak, considering if you look at the other teams that are around in those other 3 districts in that region, it's going to be tough to get a higher seed unless by somehow some chance that Westwood beats Vero Beach. If that happens, then we may be talking
that would have to be the one. Now, by the way, that might have one of the best matchups of the season with Willie Lewis and Demarcus Harris. Demarcus Harris has scored, I think, 2 or 3 touchdowns every game this season. He's going to Kentucky. Willie Lewis, obviously, is certainly going to be a D1 kid. So that one I'm looking forward to. Unfortunately, there's about 7 weeks of football between now and then.
I definitely agree with that, and anything can happen, especially once they start releasing the point standings after week 5, week 6. So that's the thing. But the other 2 teams in your area, you got St. Edward's down there in the SSAC, and then you got John Carroll, who's playing in the South Florida Conference, but as an independent this year, not as a thing. But I know that there was a little bit of a change. When that happened, was that when they dropped the independent status for this year? Were you a little surprised by that in the terms of that, or was that more of a design move because of where the talent level is at John Carroll?
I think it was primarily the talent level. And here's the funny thing, last year, if you're looking at John Carroll from the outside, you're going, man, they're really struggling, and they did. They made the move up to 5A. They petitioned the state. I think they should have been a 3A team. They move up to 5A because, like you said, Westwood, Port St. Lucie, those are 2 teams that are right down the road from them, and hey, maybe we can get some local rivalries going. And they didn't win any of those games. Now, the closer inspection, though, is that the former coach, who's now the coach at Fort Pierce Westwood, Chris Hutchings, and his staff, I think they did a phenomenal job last year. They just didn't have the talent. They had Jafari Harvey, who's now at Vero Beach and who's committed to University of Miami. They didn't really have anybody else at all. And it was a lot of smoke and mirrors, and you're looking at some of these scores going, wait a minute, Westwood needed a last-second field goal to beat them. Port St. Lucie, I think, needed some last-minute heroics to beat them. Suncoast, I think, beat them by a touchdown. And these are all teams that are legit 5A schools that have considerably more talent and more depth. And so I think after last year, they kind of said, we're going to take a step back, and they bring in a guy, Mickey Grudy, who was actually a punter at FAU and then spent several years as an assistant at Vero Beach. And he has done a phenomenal job. And I know they're 1-2 right now, but 2 of those losses are Kings Academy and Key West, both which are very good teams. And John Carroll is throwing the ball all over the park. They got a sophomore quarterback who actually is a baseball commit to UF named Jay Allen, who I think I looked it up today. They've scored 11 offensive touchdowns. He's been in on 9 of them. The only 2 were when he wasn't in the game in the season opener. They've got 2 really nice receivers in Bryce Bevins and Jacob Krause. I think you and I were tweeting about Krause. That's the kid that was swimming last year and didn't play football at all, and now he's come out. They call him Scuba Steve because he missed 1 day of spring practice for a scuba lesson. And this kid's come out. I think he scored 5 touchdowns already this season. He's the second fastest kid on the team. They've got some nice defenders. Nick Gornitsky has, I think, 60-something tackles already, or 50-something tackles in 3 games. So they have a lot of nice pieces, and they've been through really the 2 hardest teams in the conference, and now I think it's just about them getting back into a little bit of a rhythm. But when they're on, they're putting up video game numbers, and they're really fun to watch.
Yeah, I can see that, and and hopefully, for John Carroll, they'll be able to get back into the playoff system once reclassification happens after this season, and to get where they need to be, and be able to play in that conference and then compete for a potential playoff spot. I think that maybe it's the right move for them in that situation. They play where you should be, not where you think you need to be, because sometimes right. I do say school enrollment size does matter in football. I think in all sports, football, it's where it really matters.
I agree, unless, there's probably 10 exceptions in the state, or maybe 15. But, yeah, I agree completely. And, I think it'll be interesting to see how with the other
sports,
this does in the area. If you look at John Carroll traditionally, and they've had some really good young coaches come through there. Lenny Jankowski at the maybe 15 years ago is now at Vero Beach. Mike Watkins, who's now at Bay. Both those guys had a lot of success just throwing the ball all over the park and bringing in the spread offense. And Mike Watkins was a John Carroll grad, but he's also, he learned from Lenny Jankowski. Now here comes Mickey Grudy, who learned from Lenny Jankowski and brings the same offense. And now kids want to be a part of that program. And for whatever reason, when they throw it, kids love it. So, I wonder what kind of changes we will see as far as transfers. For whatever reason, when they start throwing it, kids transfer in. And so I'm not, by the way, promoting that. I'm just saying it happens. So, if they get more talent,
yeah.
do they end up jumping back in? And I don't know if they'll say 1 year was enough. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's just the way it goes with the way the process is a thing, and this is not to open a Pandora's box on the show or anything like that. It's just the way things go because our state legislators, this is what they wanted, so we'll just leave it at
Josh,
that.
Let's do it. Let's talk transferring and recruiting. You and me, we'll figure it out right now.
Well,
that'll be fun.
We'll have to figure out a show about that. That's definitely a thing. But John, I appreciate you taking a few minutes of your busy schedule and to talk to us. We'll have you back on the show later on in the season as we get closer to the playoffs. But appreciate it. Hey, have a fun week 4 actually covering high school games. I'm not a Hurricane this year. Thanks,
man. Josh, you're doing a great job. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. That was Jon Santucci from the TC Palm joining us here on the FloridaJustFootball.com radio show. You can follow him on Twitter at Jon Santucci on Twitter. I think you can find him right there very easily on all of that. All right, we got to take a break here, and then we're going to have Adam Fisher from the Naples Daily News join us to talk about Southwest Florida football. We're going to get into the southwest part of the state. There's been interesting trends going on down there in Southwest Florida. I mean, Immokalee, what's going on there? Is the sky falling out? Golden Gate, where did they come from? Naples? Naples is being Naples? But we'll all talk about that when we come back, right here on the FloridaJustFootball.com radio show.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
The Florida Athletic Coaches Association has been the state's premier coaches association for high school coaches since 1936. From coaching clinics to all-star games for all Florida High School Athletic Association team sports, the Florida Athletic Coaches Association has something for all coaches to be involved with from Pensacola to Key West. To inquire about membership, visit the Florida Athletic Coaches Association online at floridacoaches.org. That is floridacoaches.org. Legacy Team Sales is the official clothing sponsor of FloridaHSFootball.com, serving the entire state of Florida with everything a team needs and beyond. From shirts to ball caps and from jerseys to promotional gear, Legacy Team Sales has it all, including embroidery and screen printing services. Visit them online at shoplts.com or visit their showroom and warehouse at 1417 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala between US 301 and State Road 200. FloridaHSFootball.com is a proud media partner of the Florida High School 7v7 Association. The goal of the Florida High School 7v7 Association is to provide high school football teams around the state an association that complies with Florida High School Athletic Association bylaws and policies while being able to provide off-season training for their skilled position athletes. For teams interested in membership starting in January 2018, visit the Florida High School 7v7 Association online at fh7v7a.com.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
Legacy Team Sales is the official clothing sponsor of FloridaHSFootball.com, serving the entire state of Florida with everything a team needs and beyond. From shirts to ball caps and from jerseys to promotional gear, Legacy Team Sales has it all, including embroidery and screen printing services. Visit them online at shoplts.com or visit their showroom and warehouse at 1417 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala between US 301 and State Road 200. The Florida Athletic Coaches Association has been the state's premier coaches association for high school coaches since 1936. From coaching clinics to all-star games for all Florida High School Athletic Association team sports, the Florida Athletic Coaches Association has something for all coaches to be involved with from Pensacola to Key West. To inquire about membership, visit the Florida Athletic Coaches Association online at floridacoaches.org. That is floridacoaches.org.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
FloridaHSFootball.com is a proud media partner of the Florida High School 7v7 Association. The goal of the Florida High School 7v7 Association is to provide high school football teams around the state an association that complies with Florida High School Athletic Association bylaws and policies while being able to provide off-season training for their skilled position athletes. For teams interested in membership starting in January 2018, visit the Florida High School 7v7 Association online at fh7v7a.com.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
All right, welcome back here to the FloridaHSFootball.com radio show right here on FloridaHSFootball.com. Great to have everybody listening who's listening around the state. If you got a comment, you can also chat with us on the chat using the Spreaker app. It's SPREAKER. You can download that app on your Android or iOS device. Guys, it's week 4. We're gonna have football this year. Week 4. I keep saying it. It's one of those things. The thing, and I know that my next guest here is probably definitely more excited, probably really excited having football this season, unlike last season. Adam Fisher from the Naples Daily News. And Adam, appreciate you taking a few minutes of your busy schedule to talk some Southwest Florida football. And I know for y'all this year, it's definitely a relief to have football instead of dealing with a hurricane. I can tell y'all that right now.
That's exactly right, man. This time a year ago, I was in Indiana, evacuated as Irma was blowing through Collier County here, and we didn't have football for 3 whole weeks, man, in the middle of the season. All of September, basically, we didn't have football down here. It was very odd, very eerie, very strange. Just very thankful this year that, knock on wood, we haven't had one yet.
Knock on wood, and again, as I said, just prayers to thoughts and prayers to everybody up in the Carolinas right now, because they're gonna see what we went through last year, and unfortunately. So, with that, but Adam, I mean, Southwest Florida is always one of these interesting areas in the state with high school football, because y'all are it's a lot of people got to remind people, hey, between Fort Myers and Naples, there's over 1 million people between those two areas, between Lee and Collier counties, and it's like, hey, well, there's really maybe a couple minor league teams in sports, but other than that, it's still driven by the high schools in a lot of ways with sports and stuff, and of course you got Florida Gulf Coast, but when it comes to football, it's high school football all the way, and just looking at what has transpired in the first 3 weeks down in there, especially in Collier County, I did not expect Immokalee to be 0-3 at this point. I did not expect Golden Gate to be 3-0. What is going on? Is the sky falling out in Collier County, or is this just kind of a changing of the guard, maybe outside of the teams not named Naples?
Well, it's interesting. People have asked us, is football down this year? A lot of that is because a team like Immokalee is 0-3, and I don't think it's that. I think it's the teams are getting closer together in talent. For years, for a decade, we've had Naples High School, with 2 decades almost, has been the dominant team in Collier County. 2 state championships, 2 other state championship game appearances. Immokalee's been very good. But what you're seeing is, like I said, the talent level is kind of getting closer together. Those teams that haven't been traditionally good, like a Golden Gate. Golden Gate had very high expectations this year. They've got a kid who's going to Washington State. They've got a 3-year starter at quarterback. So they had talent, a huge senior class, 27 seniors. Most of them who were on an undefeated freshman team 3 years ago. And so they knew they were good. Very big expectations. So they expected to be 3-0. But I don't know if the rest of the county believed it, because Golden Gate's only had 2 winning seasons in school history, and that's only since 2004. So it's not that old of a program. The past 3 years, they've only won 3 games each. So they've already equaled their win total from those past 3 seasons. So bit of a surprise for the rest of the fans. But the big story, man, as you said, Josh, it's Immokalee, a team that went undefeated in the regular season last year. They went 13-0 on their way to a regional championship, lost in the 5A semifinals to American Heritage, and they gave American Heritage all they wanted. They were up in the 4th quarter and ended up losing by a touchdown. And now Immokalee is winless. They have not won a game. And last year it was a unique situation where they just had some studs, man. They had 3 running backs who ended up going Division I. They had a stud at receiver in Shedra Lewis, who's one of the fastest high school kids I've ever seen. And a lot of those kids also played defense. Immokalee, it's a small rural town, so they don't get the kids that some of these teams in Naples get, and they don't get a bunch of transfers coming from other areas. So they got to play with what they have. Always a smaller roster, less than 40 kids on this team for a 5A school. That's pretty low. And they just don't have any big kids this year, and they just don't have that elite talent like they've had in years past.
And with that, I've been looking at that, where we're talking about, let's talk about their district in a moment, because that's in a big Southwest Florida district, and looking at it, and right now, and all that, Immokalee's sitting here 0-3, Clewiston 0-3, Dunbar, I would say, is another surprise at 0-3. I mean, that to me, it's like, wait a second, Immokalee and Dunbar have actually dominated this district for the last couple of years. And now all of a sudden, it's like, what's going to happen here when it comes to district play, which actually starts this week? And you're looking at Mariner at 2-1, Cypress Lake at 2, Mariner at 2-0, Cypress Lake at 2-1. It's like, whoa, wait a second, what's going on here? It's like, and I know some of it's probably because of the schedule, but you also have to start thinking what's going to happen. And do you think that the whole setup right now is the way it's looking is just surprising in that district?
Certainly, and it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about the talent level kind of equaling out, or the lower teams catching up to the top teams. Because as you said, Immokalee and Dunbar, it's that Class 5A District 12, which kind of encompasses Lee and Collier counties down here. Immokalee and Dunbar have fought for the district title the past 3 years. The 3 years they've been in the same district, they've gone back and forth, and they've played in the playoffs the past 3 years. So they've met 6 times in the past 3 years, always slugfest, one of the biggest rivalries in the area. Now all of a sudden they play this Friday, and they don't have a single win between them. Both of them started 0-3. That's a huge shocker. But then you look at the rest of that district, Mariner and Cypress Lake are two of the impressive teams down here that have gotten better, and they do have those talent. You know, Mariner has a kid, Rashawn Hunter, who's a big Division I prospect. Cypress Lake has a bunch of kids similar to Golden Gate, where they have been there for 4 years. They've played together for a long time. Big senior class, didn't lose a lot of transfers, which in Lee County is a big deal because these kids flip around almost as much as they do over in Miami. But they're both have legitimate shots. They think they can be contenders. They think they can possibly knock off Dunbar or Immokalee to win a district title.
I mean, and that's huge. And then, again, it seems like to me, and this is not the only part of the state, but there's other parts of where other areas where we're seeing, again, changing of the guard. And I would say this might be a little bit of the start of the changing of the guard in that way, in that particular district. I mean, it'll be fun to watch as we get district play going here this week. I really think that's what's going to happen here. But let me bounce into Class 6A, because that really, that's another area where Southwest Florida has a lot of teams, especially between districts 10 through 12 in Southwest Florida. That's a good core right there of Lee County and Collier County right there. And we already talked about Golden Gate, but I mean, Naples is Naples. Okay, 1-1.
Right.
They lost to a very good Miami Palmetto team. I know that's 2 years in a row that Miami Palmetto has made the trip along Alligator Alley and defeated Naples, but I feel like sometimes that helps Naples along the way, to be honest, to take one on the chin, and then all of a sudden here they are, they're running everybody else over.
Well, yeah, you look at it last year, Palmetto came into Naples and won by like 15 points. That was Naples' only loss in the regular season. Naples won 9 straight games. Like Immokalee, they won a regional championship, got to the semifinals, lost to Miami Northwestern, who went on to win the Class 6A championship. So Coach Kramer, Bill Kramer down here, this is his 21st season. He even said, that was a wake-up call last year. We're looking for similar results this year. And yeah, 6A, it's again, I go back to it, not any great teams this year like we've had in years past, but a handful of good teams. You got Naples, Golden Gate, Fort Myers is a good 6A team. They think they've got what it takes to beat Naples come playoff time. Then you look a little bit to the north, you got Charlotte and Port Charlotte, 2 teams that are very good in 6A. So that region is really going to be fun come playoff time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, you look at it, you got Fort Myers at 3-0. Lehigh, I did not catch a score. Did they actually ever get to make up that game last night with Sebring? Because I saw something about thunderstorms happening, and I never caught a score if they actually finally made that game up last night.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I went to bed, too, so I didn't see a score either, so I'm not 100% sure.
Because what I have is Lehigh was sitting at Lehigh was sitting at 2-0. Let's see. I'm going to actually pull a Twitter search up right now. I mean, this is the thing. And they canceled the game. Again, Lightning. So I don't think that game's going to be made up at any point this now, because they've already tried. So, I mean, this is the second time here that they think, and that's unfortunate right there. So Lehigh still sits at 2-0, but I mean Fort Myers. Fort Myers, and it seems like if it's that region, it's Fort Myers and Naples. It seems like it comes down to. That's what it always seems to be. It's like that. And it seems like they'll find their way of meeting up in the playoffs somehow. I mean Fort Myers. They've come out of the gate pretty strongly, 3-0. I mean they're averaging almost 39 points a game. That's not bad for the Green Wave.
No, they're good. Yeah, as you said, Fort Myers and Naples have met in the playoffs the past 2 years. Fort Myers won 2 years ago. Naples won last year. But I'm telling you, man, a team you should keep an eye on is Port Charlotte. That's a team that should have beaten Naples in the playoffs last year in the first round. And Naples does not lose at home in the playoffs. They definitely don't lose in the first round. And Port Charlotte was up 7-0 with 2 minutes left, and Naples pulls the miracle of all miracles with 2 touchdowns in the final 10 seconds of the game to win. And I know that's eating at them. I know that they're fired up. I mean, Port Charlotte just beat last week South Fort Myers, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but like 52-6. And South Fort Myers is another powerhouse team down here in Southwest Florida. So Port Charlotte's for real this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Port Charlotte. I mean, Cape Coral 3-0 start. I mean, that's a little bit of a surprise. I could say throw it in there, considering that they got a first year head coach.
Yeah.
And in North Fort Myers starting off 1-2, but again, coaching change, lost some talent. I think that North Fort Myers takes a step back. Considering they did go undefeated last year in the regular season. Mm-hmm. But that region, it'll be fun to watch. But and I'm looking at it real quick with the district in 7A12. With Riverdale and South Fort Myers. South Fort Myers starting off 0-3. I was a little shocked by that, but Riverdale, I think that one is a story right there, what they're starting to do, especially the fact that, I keep hearing from people around the state, watch out for Riverdale.
Yeah, man, I got to give credit to my counterpart at the Fort Myers News Press, Adam Regan. He was on Riverdale in the preseason saying how good they were going to be. Riverdale always had the ability. They always have some big dudes up front. They like to pound the ball and run it. And this year they put it together, man. They've been the positive surprise of the year. If Immokalee, Dunbar, South Fort Myers at 0-3 is the negative surprise of the season so far, Riverdale 3-0 is a big surprise. And that's including a win over Palmetto Ridge, who's a good team. They beat Dunbar last week, and they're just running the snot out of the ball. I mean, over 300 yards a game. Quantavious Brown, their running back there, he's been over 150 yards every game. So, and it's only a 3-team district, and as I said, South Fort Myers 0-3. Gulf Coast is in that district as well, and Naples High School. And Gulf Coast has surprised me. They've looked decent this year, but they're very young. They've got a new head coach, so I don't anticipate them contending for the district title. But yeah, Riverdale could be a district champion for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, not to forget our smaller schools that you've got down there. I mean, which are split between regions 3 and 4 and 2A, especially in the 2A. I know there's some stuff. There's a couple few in Class 4A in region 3 down there. But really, I think some of the schools that are really kind of thing. For First Baptist, they've been a playoff team for a long time. Missed it last year, but now, hey, they're on a 2-0 start. A lot of people thinking, hey, I mean, I really think, in my opinion, they're going to make a playoffs this year. There's no way. I mean, if they miss, I would be totally shocked, just to be honest with you.
Well, I would too, especially since the FHSAA expanded those playoffs now to 6 teams in the smaller regions. So
right.
You're talking 6 out of 9 teams in that region make the playoffs. Last year, First Baptist was hit pretty hard. We talked about the Hurricane earlier. They lost 3 games, still finished 5-2, which is a great record, but they just didn't have those games against good teams to get quality points, to get the point average into the playoffs with the FHSAA point system, and that aided them. First Baptist is a fairly newer program, started in 2009, but 2012 won their first district championship, and they hadn't lost the district championship until last year. That was the first time they missed the playoffs since 2011. They've got a really good program there under Coach Billy Sparacio. So they're fired up. They've looked pretty good. The team they contend with down here, St. John Newman, a team that went undefeated on the field last year for the first time in school history. Unfortunately, in the playoffs, they lost to Champagnat Catholic, who won the state title there at 2A. So those are 2 quality teams that, for sure, pretty much are going to make the playoffs. But I have a shot to win a few in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you in that. And going back to Class 4A real quick and looking at that particular region with a couple of Southwest Florida, Bishop Verot and then Oasis, which Oasis kind of, 3-0 starting out. That's kind of a little bit of surprising there, But I think it's also the schedules are starting to get balanced, and I think y'all are seeing that down there, especially with the teams. The schedules are balancing out where the higher caliber teams, the higher quality teams are scheduling tougher, while the ones that are kind of sitting here maybe 3-0 at a little bit of surprise are, they're figuring their thing out, how to work the system too. So I think in a way that I guess the point system for y'all down there in that particular part of the state is actually y'all are benefiting from it, what it was designed to do.
Yeah, it's just, like you said, it depends on how you want to take it. Do you want to play a bunch of really good teams and maybe not have a great record, but still get good points because those teams have good records? Or do you want to play a bunch of not-so-good teams, but go 10-0? Look at a team down here like Barron Collier. Last year, 8 of their 10 games were against playoff teams. so you get those playoff bonus points in the point system. They finished 5-5, so not a great record. Now, a lot of those, like 4 of those, were single point losses. But Barron ends up making the playoffs with a wild card because they had so many points from playing really good teams around the state, played an out-of-state team. So, yeah, it's all about just how you choose to do it. And in particular, you mentioned 4A, Oasis. It's just their second year back into 11-man football. They're 3-0 right now. Bishop Rowe looking pretty good. They've got a really good running back, and Terry Lindsay. Look for him. Watch for him. 2 teams, and again, Varro, a team that would have made the playoffs last year had the playoff system been the same, with 6 playoff spots instead of 4 playoff spots. So that's definitely something they're looking to do this year.
Yeah, definitely, and all of that, and it'll be fun to watch is what we've got going on because again, 6 teams out of that region, and and for some of your teams in that particular in your coverage area, they're gonna have to deal with they're gonna have to face LaBelle because they're in that conference, and LaBelle surprisingly 3-0 as well. So that's a team you're gonna some of these I'm trying to think who in that conference because I know I think Southwest Florida Christian, those guys. They got to watch out because you want to get in the playoffs. You got some contenders sitting here that we might not have expected.
Well, again, it goes back to, as we said, a lot of parity down here this year. No great teams, but a lot of good teams. I believe it's 6 teams in Lee County right now that are undefeated, either 3-0 or 2-0. A lot of them have really not been 3-0 or this good this late in the season. Not that we're that late, but they haven't been 3-0 for a long, long time. So, yeah, a lot of teams with high expectations. So it's been a lot of fun because in recent years, like you said, it's been Naples. You knew they were going to win. Immokalee, you knew they were going to win. Dunbar, you knew they were going to win. Fort Myers, you knew they were going to win. But now it's anybody's game. It's a lot of fun.
It definitely is a lot of fun. Well, Adam, appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. We'll definitely get you back on as we get closer to the playoffs between you, and we'll get your cohort as well mixed in with this as well from the news press, and we'll have a lot of fun with it.
Well, yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate what you do, man. You're a hard-working man, but you got all the knowledge, so keep up the hard work.
Appreciate it, Adam. Have a good one.
You too. All
right. That was Adam Fisher from the Naples Daily News. You can follow him on Twitter at NDN_Adam. That's how you can follow him. Adam Fisher from the Naples Daily News. All right, we got to take a break here. Our next guest for the evening, our last one. That's a good one. I love this guy. He's good. Brandon Adoy from Football Hotbed to talk about his show on Fox Sports Florida. We'll talk a little bit about South Florida as well because that's where he's focused at. That's where he's based out of. So we'll talk about all of that here and a lot going on. But if you haven't seen the rankings, go to FloatHSFootball.com. Our Sunshine State Top 25 and classification rankings posted this afternoon at noon. So our latest ranking sitting there on the website, Joe Pinko's forecast. A lot of good games coming up here for this week. But we'll be back here in a few minutes here on the FloatHSFootball.com radio show.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
The Florida Athletic Coaches Association has been the state's premier coaches association for high school coaches since 1936. From coaching clinics to all-star games for all Florida High School Athletic Association team sports, the Florida Athletic Coaches Association has something for all coaches to be involved with from Pensacola to Key West. To inquire about membership, visit the Florida Athletic Coaches Association online at floridacoaches.org. That is floridacoaches.org. Legacy Team Sales is the official clothing sponsor of FloatHSFootball.com, serving the entire state of Florida with everything a team needs and beyond. From shirts to ball caps and from jerseys to promotional gear, Legacy Team Sales has it all, including embroidery and screen printing services. Visit them online at shoplts.com or visit their showroom and warehouse at 1417 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala between US 301 and State Road 200. FloatHSFootball.com is a proud media partner of the Florida High School 7v7 Association. The goal of the Florida High School 7v7 Association is to provide high school football teams around the state an association that complies with Florida High School Athletic Association bylaws and policies while being able to provide off-season training for their skilled position athletes. For teams interested in membership starting in January 2018, visit the Florida High School 7v7 Association online at fh7v7a.com.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream. Legacy Team Sales is the official clothing sponsor of FloridaHSFootball.com, serving the entire state of Florida with everything a team needs and beyond. From shirts to ball caps and from jerseys to promotional gear, Legacy Team Sales has it all, including embroidery and screen printing services. Visit them online at shoplts.com or visit their showroom and warehouse at 1417 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala between US 301 and State Road 200. The Florida Athletic Coaches Association has been the state's premier coaches association for high school coaches since 1936. From coaching clinics to all-star games for all Florida High School Athletic Association team sports, the Florida Athletic Coaches Association has something for all coaches to be involved with from Pensacola to Key West. To inquire about membership, visit the Florida Athletic Coaches Association online at floridacoaches.org. That is floridacoaches.org. High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
FloridaHSFootball.com is a proud media partner of the Florida High School 7v7 Association. The goal of the Florida High School 7v7 Association is to provide high school football teams around the state an association that complies with Florida High School Athletic Association bylaws and policies while being able to provide off-season training for their skilled position athletes. For teams interested in membership starting in January 2018, visit the Florida High School 7v7 Association online at fh7v7a.com.
High school sports fans, follow your team live with the free ScoreStream mobile app. Just download ScoreStream to get real-time scores, photos, and awesome video from your game and your rivals. Plus, follow your favorite teams and friends. Get real-time high school sports from ScoreStream.
All right, welcome back here to the FloridaHSFootball.com radio show here on FloridaHSFootball.com. Week 4 football. Some games tomorrow night, South Florida. The typical, usual slate, you know, when we get thing down there in Miami-Dade County with some Thursday night games. A couple others around the state, depending on where you're at. But then Friday night, you know, with all the games, you can listen to us 10 to midnight. FloridaHSFootball.com Friday night scoreboard here on FloridaHSFootball.com. So, a lot going on. Week 4 about to kick things off tomorrow night. We'll have some really good games on the slate, as we mentioned earlier. The biggest game in the state this week, again, it's going to be Columbia and Robert E. Lee in Lake City. That's a battle between two top 25 teams, and that will be actually probably most likely for the District 7A2 championship. So that'll be the thing right there. But getting ready to join me is our next guest, our last guest of the evening, but he is a great one, Brandon Odoi from Football Hotbed. You can follow him on Twitter at Brandon_Odoi. That's ODOI. And you can also follow Football Hotbed at Football Hotbed. Brandon, appreciate you joining me here to talk about Football Hotbed, especially with your new show that you got on Fox Sports Florida. I mean, I think it's actually kind of incredible to see some high school programming to get back on our regional cable channels, and you know, that's it's a start of things. And you know, just tell me, you know, how this came about.
Yeah, you know, we actually were approached by Fox, and they kind of reached out to us because I guess one of the executives there had a young man from Orlando come to South Florida to participate in our middle school All-American games and in some of our showcase platforms. So he kind of started paying attention to us from that. He saw our coverage of the state championship last year. We did, you know, Hotbed Television, which aired on our YouTube channel. And based on our reach to at least Orlando, he surmised that we might be able to do a statewide high school football show. And so he called us in. We began talking about what it would look like, and here we are.
So and all of that, you can only do so much in a TV show. So this is what but you try to hit up on the big teams, and that's what I've noticed. And that's the thing, you have to focus on who's hot right now, and kind of the thing. How does the process for y'all when you try to build a show like that? What does it start with? Because that I know it's not the easiest thing in the world when you're trying to build a show. I mean, even if you're doing TV or radio, it's not the easiest thing in the world. You got to ground up everything that you need to put a show together.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing at all. As a matter of fact, I'm the most tired as I've ever been in my entire life, because as we discussed before coming on air, you cycle in. It's a weekly show. You cycle in. And you're basically going from one show into the next show. So it's one of those situations where, you are, from a standpoint, trying to gauge and make sure you have a grip on, the most important issues of the day. You're dealing with, and by that I mean, what's the most relevant, football to discuss in the state of Florida? That's where you always want to be. You always want to be on top of, the whole situation. You want to be relevant, and you also want to, be entertaining as well. So that's what this is all about.
No, absolutely, and with all that, and no, you got a good grasp of what's going on, especially with South Florida, and I want to talk about that because I know it ties back into what you've covered on the show and with all that. But looking at the teams, it's not surprising that when I look at Class 8A. The majority of my teams that I've got ranked are South Florida teams, and it's no surprise again. What Deerfield Beach, South Day, Columbus, Delray Beach, Atlantic. You could go on Plantation, Miami Palmetto, Miami Southridge. I mean, I could go on and on. That's where a lot of people think. You got to realize, hey, that's a good area. It's just one of the strongest part of the state in terms of football. That's what it is, and I mean those teams right there. That's Class 8A alone. They all could be competing for a state championship at the end of the season, depending how far they want to go with it.
Well, we always like to say down here in South Florida, and not just because I live here, because I'm not originally from here, but the road to the state championship goes through South Florida. In every class that you're considering in this state, in 3A, in 2A, it used to be Chaminade. They were the team that always was there, for the year that they've been strong. They're going to struggle this year. 3A, Chaminade has now made themselves. And when it wasn't them, it was Delray, American Heritage, or Westminster. When, in 4A, it's always been a situation where Booker T lately has been the team to beat. And then, they would always meet up with Cocoa for the right to go to the state championship. In 5A was American Heritage that was always formidable. In 6A, all you have to do is look at District 16, 6A. In 7A was always St. Thomas. In the 8A, it could have been anyone. It could have been Cypress Bay one year. It could have been South Dade another year. It could have been South Ridge. This is a hotbed for football, and good teams breed better teams. And so when the coaching improved, when I first started covering football here, the coaching in South Florida was not as good as it is today. You had a lot of coaches that have since gone to college, come back, and gotten into the coaching ranks. I'll give you one example. Eduardo Comlentz, who I covered at the University of Miami, he was a Booker T. Washington grad and a part of their state teams. He's now a high school football coach in South Florida. So he kind of brings a new wave of coaches who play big-time Power 5 Division I football and come back home as teachers and educators and as high school coaches, bringing an immense amount of talent and coaching talent to the coaching staff of these already super talented teams.
I mean, and that's a big thing is that those and then the coaching trees down there as well, especially since some of the I would say to call them the old guards, the ones that have been around. They've retired. They're stepping. They've stepped down. We could start with George Smith. For many years at Aquinas. Mark Wendolo. Have been Cypress Bay, Chaminade, Madonna, Southridge. These are guys that are now they're retired. They're done. You got to breed, and they've breeded a lot of these coaches that we've got now that we see in South Florida.
Yeah, the old guard is cycling out, but I'll tell you this, some of them are still alive and kicking, particularly talking about people like Ice.
Oh, yeah.
Damon Jones at Chaminade Madonna has taken over and won a state championship. You've got these coaches of color that are coming in, identifying better with these kids at these powerhouse private school programs, and they're winning state championships, and everything is just going to that next level.
And that's the thing right there, is that next level, and and looking at that, I mean, you can even look at some of the public schools, and you see where the new breed, the new wave of coaches have taken a foothold as well. I mean, to be honest with you, looking at, you mentioned that 6A district with District 16, and out of the top in the top 5 in 6A and our rankings on 40justfootball.com, it had been 3 of those teams. Miami Northwestern has slipped up a little bit, which is kind of surprising, but still, the 1 and 2 team, Carroll City and Central. Carroll City. I did not, to be honest with you, Brandon, I did not expect them for them to go to play Columbus at Tropical and run them out 35-0. I would have thought, okay, that's going to be a competitive game because 2 top 25 teams in the state, and all of a sudden, boom, here's Carroll City just running Columbus out of the park.
The game was at Trash, so I wouldn't.
Oh, it's a Trash. Okay, it's Trash. Okay, so Trash.
So, yeah, no, they kind of look the same when you're watching video. But the thing is, this Carroll City team is the absolute surprise of the South Florida. Now, locally, we understood what took place. There were several members of the Doral Firebird football team in 7A that came over right before, the season got started. And those transfers that came over from Doral, halfway through fall camp or whenever the deadline cut off, they came right before that. Those were the difference makers because we already knew Carroll City was going to be good offensively. We knew that they were going to be a juggernaut offensively because of Daniel Richardson, who will go down as one of Miami-Dade's most prolific passers, transferring from Booker T, giving Carroll City that fireballer of a quarterback with tons of experience. He won a state championship as a freshman. He reunites with Benedict Hippolyte, his offensive coordinator from their time at Booker T. Washington together. So we knew that they were going to be, offensively explosive. Naquan Wright, who I think is one of the best players in the state, a very up-and-coming wide receiver, and Tye Jones-Bell, who's back off of injury. He was with Hippolyte at Hollandale his freshman year. The backup running back in Travis Jeter. The other wide receiver core that they have in tow there, we knew they were going to be good, but they were weak in the spring game against Lakewood. They were weak on the offensive line. They were weak on the defensive line. Those transfers at the last minute shored up every issue they had, and that's why you see the kind of audacious scores that they're putting up, against the Rickards and, the Columbuses and these historic Florida staple blue blood programs are getting really taken to the woodshed by Carroll City, and it's because they are for real.
And that's the thing, and and I kept hearing the hype, and especially when I went down to media day this year down at Hard Rock, and as everybody was talking about Carroll City, I'm like, well, wait a second, what Carroll City, may have not won the state championship last year. They got knocked out in the third round, and I'm sitting here, wait a second, and here it be, especially the legend Larry Bluestein, he's like talking about Carroll City, and I'm like, All right, Lynn, and I finally just let it sink in for a few days, and I really kind of looked at it a little bit more, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take the bold move of putting them number 1 in 6A and number 1 in the top 25.
You know what? And I got to credit you for that, because you were the first one to put them at number 1. Everybody was still putting St. Thomas and in some cases Central as number 1 in the state. And even nationally, the national polls are way off, which they tend to be. And if anybody from USA Today or Max Preps is listening, you guys don't have a clue about Florida football. And thank God for FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, and thank God for Football Hotbed and others, and Fox Sports Florida and
right.
Big County, and all the people who do what we do across the state. Because, you know, Carroll City comes in and absolutely takes apart a team that hadn't lost a game in 2 seasons. Then they proceed, that's before knocking off Rickard, a team with a lot of pedigree. And then the next thing you know, they take on a blue blood private school program in Miami-Dade County in Columbus, and they don't even get on the scoreboard the week after, they knock off the defending 6A champs. So, I mean, Carroll City's for real. They got to be concerned with Central, though. I want to make sure I say that, Josh. Miami Central is for real. Don't let that loss fool you. Don't let the smooth taste of that loss up in D.C. fool you. They were in that game until the very last minute. It took major heroics, and it was raining cats and dogs. And that D.C. team is good. Sojay Maeva, who transferred over from Hawaii, moved all the way across the world almost, probably as far east as you can go, goes from Hawaii to Washington, D.C., He was a major pickup for them. That Raheem Jarrett kid that caught the last pass in 5 overtime to win for them, he's a big deal. He's an All-American kid. Central is still a major problem, and I think they're the biggest threat to Carroll City and 6A from winning the championship.
And I will agree with you on that, and I can see that, and that's what I'm going to point it out here. And I mean, for anybody, excuse me for calling the Associated Press poll out, but I don't think that, when they looked at it and they voted, they dropped Miami Central down to 3 in the vote. I'm like, if you gotta really analyze and look at that. That was a 5 overtime game, as you mentioned, and they played their butts off. And I feel like, what?
They're a 5 overtime game on the road, and they lost by 3 points in the rain.
I cannot penalize them. I can't penalize them. That's why I kept them at 2.
But see, here's the thing, and this is what I want you to think about, and you know this. How many of our Florida teams go to other states and lose close games? It happens all the time. The only time our Florida teams go other places and win games is when it's an absolute blowout. And I'm not indicting anyone. I'm just saying everybody take a pause and look. St. Thomas Aquinas goes out to Arizona last year. They lose a very tight game for a previously undefeated team. A lot of shenanigans pulled.
Right.
You have all sorts of teams go out of state. Central goes out. Last year they took care of Bishop Gorman. The previous year they go to DeMatha. You know what I mean? And it's hard for a South Florida team to win a game, a Florida team to win a game out of the state because of some of the things that take place. And there's such a distaste for the state of Florida and the football that we play, that you as a team, when you go out of state, you're not going to have any friends. The moment you touch down on the plane or you get off the bus, God is your only friend, because you will not have any other friends anywhere. And not to say that these games are being conducted unfairly or whatever the case may be, but you very rarely see people coming to play football at Travis Power. You don't see that. None of the Powers will show up in South Florida to play. I tip my cap to, St. John Bosco last year for coming as the number 3 team to play St. Thomas. They went home losers on the St. Thomas team that didn't even go to the state championship. Just to give you an idea of, how good the football is here. You know what I mean? And one of their best teams, they couldn't even win, when St. Thomas was down. You know what I mean? So just, I love it. I love what you do. We've talked for years. I love what Florida football, and I'm just, this year with the show and everything that we're doing, thank all the people at Fox. I just want to get that out there. I mean, they didn't have to call us. It could have been anybody, but just we wanted a show. We wanted high school football to have a voice, a statewide voice, and it didn't have a big platform. And as much and hard as you guys work, and as hard as we work, our platforms weren't big enough, not big enough for the sport. We're producing the most NFL players, the most D1 college players, but we don't have a high school football show in the entire state. It made no sense.
And I feel like there's room for more. To be honest with you, there's so much more room in this state for what could be done. And I mean, again, I'm just going looking at more of these teams. I mean, St. Thomas Aquinas, you bring DeMatha, you bring DeMatha down, and you wallop them on ESPN, and it reiterates that point of everybody else looks at us at Florida and it's like, wait a second, we're not going to cheer Florida on and ever. We're not going to be your friend. And for Cardinal Gibbons, to go up to Georgia, that was a tough test for them. And I feel like those two tests between Miami Central and Milton, Georgia, that maybe finally lit the fire in them and go after Dillard last week. But again,
well, I tell you, I don't even have to ask, but I know if you said to Matt DeBuck, you're going to lose 2 early games, but you'll win a state championship, he say, I'll take it.
I agree.
Gibbons has been undefeated other than 1 to 2 games against American Heritage every year for the past 2 or 3 years, and the reality is that's not good enough anymore. And they needed a bigger test. They needed to play in a game where they needed a season where the biggest game on their schedule was an American Heritage Plantation. And this year, I can honestly say Heritage Plantation is probably the 3rd best team that they'll play. And I think that now Cardinal Gibbons will find themselves so much more battle-tested, than they've been in past years when they weren't really playing the schedule that they needed to play to be at a state championship level. But I will say this, I'm very interested to see what they're going to do against Jackson this week, because that will be a little bit of a test. I think they'll pass it. But, Jackson is a resurgent team under first-year head coach Scott Daniels. His son Amari is the sophomore sensation. I'm interested to see how they handle this because the record says 1-2. This is a can't-lose game for Gibbons.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, and that's the thing I was going to bring up. Miami Jackson 3-0 hasn't allowed a point to be scored on them yet, but I'm still, some people are ranking Miami Jackson right now, especially in the other state ranking poll, and I'm just like, yeah, I want to see something.
They haven't played anybody. What are their opponents?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Sisters of the Poor. Who have they played so far? They've not played anybody. And I was there when they played Dillard in the preseason, and, they had opportunities. They weren't cohesive. They're another team that has benefited sort of for the fall of Doral Academy, where a lot of those kids went over to Jackson and kind of solidified. So they needed time to gel, and it looks like the gelling process has done, it's done its due diligence. But we're going to find out on Friday, at 7 o'clock or 7:30, whenever the kickoff is at Gibbons. We're going to find out how good it really is, and really truly how legit that 3-0 ranking, that 3-0 record really is.
Right, and they're ranked in the AP poll, but I'll tell you on my end, on my rankings, I'm just not. I got to see something first. I got to see them if they beat Gibbons or American Heritage. Then we'll talk about ranking because you got to prove it at this particular point, and I feel like that's definitely a thing. It's you got to go prove it, and I feel like at the end of the day, the top 2 teams still in that district right this second, or it's American Heritage Plantation and Cardinal Gibbons, and we'll find out as district play unfolds here starting this week.
Yeah, absolutely. District play begins. Couldn't be more excited about that. The thing about district play is now we get into sort of to me, it's the beginning of the playoffs, especially down here in South Florida where, a lot of teams are vying for spots and a lot of teams now have the opportunity to get in the playoffs, whereas before, if you weren't a district champion or a district runner-up, you had no chance. So now with this new format, you're really allowing the best of the best to get in. So I like it as the start of the playoffs. I think the other game that's kind of off-kilter that no one's talking about down here is that, American Heritage is taking on Coconut Creek, a Coconut Creek team that also hasn't lost a game yet, So, it's a scenario, or if they lost this past week. This is a very interesting time in that district, the 5A district. A lot of resurgent teams. Even Stranahan has a new coach. Coach Travis Harden, I talked to him earlier this week, but I'm more interested in the game that you promoted, the Lake City Columbia game versus Lee. If we could have gotten there this week, we went to Plant last week, that would have been game of the week this week. It didn't make sense to travel, especially with, a hurricane out in the ocean that far away from family, especially with the production schedule that we had. But that is truly, as you said, the game of the week. Now, we're going up to Vero Beach, where Vero is 3-0, and they take on Fort Lauderdale, and it'll be interesting to see how Vero fares against a South Florida team with a little bit more juice than they're used to playing. Now, they don't really get into the mix with some of the blue bloods down here. They play Wellington, and so they kind of touch and feel. So it'll be interesting to see, how they handle Fort Lauderdale, which is sort of a program that's kind of on the cusp of doing some special things. They've got some talented kids. We've been in touch with them. Some of them have come to our camps and showcases in the offseason, so we know they got the talent. Are they a true, formidable, traditional South Florida powerhouse? Not yet. But Coach Dunbar is building. His son is on the team, helping him as well. So that should be an interesting game. But, yeah, I'm very, very interested around the corner from you. I'm sure you'll be there, Lake City, Columbia, and Lee, Jacksonville, Lee. So, yeah, I can't wait to see what happens in that game. We're watching it very closely. And in our rankings, we actually have Columbia ranked number 5 in the state.
I mean, and that's the thing, and I've got Columbia number 4 in the overall top 25, number 2 in 7A, and it's at the end of the day, it's a, that's going to be a game that decides probably that district up there in District 7A too, and at the end of the day, these district games, as I've said, it separates the boy. It's time to separate the men from the boys when it comes to these district games, because at the end of the day, you're fighting for your playoff lives, and it starts now, not 3 weeks later. It starts now.
Yeah, it starts now. I mean, you look at a game like MacArthur versus West Broward last week. That was essentially the district championship. Because now, West Broward is in a situation where they got to win out just to make the playoffs, in the district. So, try to hope they have enough points to do it. So there are a lot of things that are shaking out, as you mentioned, and I can't wait to have you break it down for our audience about, really what's going on with all of the points. I don't think I understand it for real myself, but that's why I lean on experts like yourself who study this thing and really immerse themselves into this type of thing to help us to really grasp it. But I like it. It allows more parity in the playoffs, and we don't have to watch games where 2 and 15 teams make the playoffs, and because that kind of stuff just really doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all. But Brandon, tell everybody how they can watch the Florida High School Football Report with Football Hotbed on Fox Sports Florida. How can they watch it?
Well, just turn on the Fox Sports Florida. Log in to their social media on Facebook and Twitter. A lot of the elements are promoted and put out, over the social media. And then probably toward playoff time in the, October, November area, you'll start to see it on cable. You'll see the full show. For now, you can watch their YouTube and all their social media, and they'll put the segments on. And we'll put it on Football Hotbed as well. So, there are lots of ways to watch, and, we're just excited at this opportunity. We have a little bit further to go as a production team, and we're looking for people to help us statewide. So I want to appreciate all the coaches that have, been hospitable to us, and, we're looking forward to, being legit, going around to all the different places. We went to Plant. We'll go to Vero this week. We'll make it up there to hopefully, the Orlando and even Jacksonville area before the season is over, and, wrap this thing with a bow in December in Orlando.
Yeah, and especially of Orlando, hey, that's the central ground. That's ground zero, as they say, for state championships. 3 days, second weekend of December, Thursday through Friday. I think it's the 6th to the 8th of this year with state championships, and it's always a fun time when we all get down there in Orlando, and especially the games, and we end up talking what's going on about the rest of the state, and hey, that's going to be fun, and I look forward to it, and I'll keep following what you're doing, Brandon. Appreciate you taking a few minutes of your busy schedule, man. I know you're everywhere, man.
Yeah, no, anytime I'm always gonna make time for you. Even before we were covering high school, you've been doing it, and so on behalf of everybody in the state, man, we really appreciate what you do. FloridaHSFootball.com has been, in the game since 2011, and making some things happen, and just continue to do what you're doing, man. If you ever need us, we're just a phone call away.
I appreciate it, Brandon. Well, I hope you have a great night. And hey, at least we get have football this week, unlike last year. So that's the best thing about all of this.
Absolutely, and thoughts and prayers to everybody here
Yes.
in the affected zone. Take care, take cover. We dealt with this last year. Football is important, but it's not the end of the world. Your life is more important. And hey, man, I look forward to seeing you in Orlando, if not sooner, man. Hope to get you down here to South Florida.
Yeah,
check
definitely.
some games out, man.
Definitely. Well, Brandon, have a great night.
All right, you too.
All right. That was Brandon O'Doy from Football Hotbed joining us here on the 4HSFootball.com radio show. Appreciate him taking the time, and a lot going on around the Sunshine State. But again, this is some great stuff going on. But let's take a look real quick, because we're not going to do another commercial break. But I'm going to take a look at some of the stuff we've got. Like I said, we've got the biggest game of the week. And we mentioned it. Number 21 Lee at number 4 Columbia. That is the biggest game of the week. The next biggest one I want to say, you got number 3 Trinity Christian at Bulls. That'll be another good one. Those two games right there are really solid games. Miami-Norland is a concern. I think Miami-Carroll City takes care of business. Rockledge and Space Coast, we talked about that with Alan Zlotorzynski in hour 1. Rains and Fletcher, that should be a good game. Rains is 2-1, Fletcher's 3-0, but this will be a big test for Fletcher, but we'll see with Rains. And Columbus and Booker T. Washington, Friday night, that's going to be a good one too, I think, as well. But a lot of good games going to be on. We've got some really good ones around the state. Some top 20 teams. A lot of teams still undefeated, but we're going to start seeing that those undefeated streaks eventually start to come to an end here. So, but we'll see what happens here, heading here in week 4. Opening week of district play for a lot of teams. If not this week, it'll be week 6 for everybody else that's not starting district play this week. But Joel Pinkos has got his forecast. I mean, this is where we get into the stretch where we start to find out the boys, the men from the boys, and we start to find out who's really got it with their games, who's really into it, who's really got it, who's really there. So. We'll have some stuff. We've got some other stuff we will put on 4HSFootball.com. District standings, got those. We'll have. I'll put those up tomorrow. We'll put the district standings up. I'm looking at some other information. Maybe look at some inside the numbers. I don't know if I'll start it this week. Maybe start it next week with the inside the numbers segment on that one. Maybe we'll do with that. We'll take a look at some of the numbers. It's a numbers game basically, looking at who's trending. What are the trends? Because. We'll see who's really got it here at this particular point. But you can also go to 4HSFootball.com/forums, and you can join us there, talk football. Pretty active. A lot going on, a lot being talked about right now, a lot some good threads sitting here on the message board, quite active right now with our members, and we appreciate them. So you can go to 4HSFootball.com/forums and sign up, and we'll actually, with the thing, if anybody that's been waiting to get on the forums, we'll get you approved here as we go along, because it is manual approved, because that way we keep everything. We try to keep everything on the up and up as we do things. So that's pretty much that. We got a lot going on. It's week 4 in the Sunshine State, but hey, we got to end the show for the night. We'll be back Friday night, 10 to midnight, for the FootHSFootball.com scoreboard. The Friday night scoreboard. We'll be back here live, 10 to midnight. We'll have all your updates from games around the Sunshine State. So you can listen to us, FootHSFootball.com/live. That's how you can do it. And we'll see what's going on. But we got a lot going on, and we'll go from there. Yep. Alright, guys, it's been great. Have a great week. Again, our thoughts and prayers to everybody up in the Carolinas, Virginia, even Georgia, dealing with Hurricane Florence. If y'all are listening, you're from there. We hope y'all stay safe. Best of luck to all the teams here with week 4 football action here. Hopefully it's a great week. Hey, we have been lucky so far with very few delays and cancellations here so far. So, all right, we'll be back here next Wednesday night again, 8 till 10, right here on FloorHSFootball.com, 8 till 10 Eastern, and then Friday night. Listen to us Friday night Scoreboard show, 10 until midnight, right here on FloorHSFootball.com. Remember, anything is possible that you want to do. All right, and reach for the skies and the stars, too. All right, everybody, have a great evening and a great night. This has been a production of FloridaHSFootball.com. Copyright 2018, Florida HS Football LLC. All rights reserved.